I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions, and this is your Bullish Bit brought to you by CoinMiles.io, the best place to earn Bitcoin rewards when you spend your filthy fiat online. If you're not using it, you are leaving sats on the table, shop online, or get gift cards for all your favorite vendors, including retail, travel, apparel, home supplies, groceries, and more. Hit the link below and earn 25,000 sats just for signing up.
My wife and I, we've got this beautiful little baby girl, and everything that we're talking about is this idea of, kind of moral responsibility, grounded decision making. I had this moment after she was born, holding her and seeing, all of the potential and the joy and the fun that this little child brings into your universe. And then this momentary panic of, oh crap, the Zoomers are not in a good way. All these high school kids that I see, I live by a couple of schools. And so, periodically school lets out and you see the kids walking to the Walgreens to go get some snacks or the gas station or walking back home, cruising around doing their thing. And they're just not in a good way. They don't carry themselves with any sense of pride or esteem. At least I don't see them. Maybe it's just the kids in my neighborhood. They seem to be confused about who they are or what they believe in. They have all but given up the idea that they will enter into a workforce that they can contribute and receive something of value from. They've been told that they are not one thing or another thing, but a cacophony of things, and they can just kind of pick who they are from the hat, the Dr. Seuss hat for that day. And so they walk around not knowing who they are outside of the world, past the tip of their nose or through their fingers on a phone with a social avatar. And it's terrifying. You think, well, not only is it terrifying because living in the world, you see people and you don't want to see people kind of zombified, especially kids in that kind of way. But the underlying pain that you kind of see there is it just looks like they're alone. They look so lonely that in this world of hyper choice and sort of hyper go beyond the treadmill, everyone's got to catch their break. The best thing that you could possibly do to have some infinitesimal moment of glory is win the lottery or be chosen by Mr. Beast to be in a video. It's almost like people are just kind of waiting to be picked up by the YouTube algorithm and the YouTube gods to be someone who is fortunate enough to have been sort of just dropped this thing in front of them. And it's really scary. And it's really something that I feel terrible for these really young kids because they just look so alone. And when I think about what we're doing in the Bitcoin space fundamentally, and it's the same thing in a religious community, it's the same thing in like a cultural community, it's the same thing in just the neighborhood that you have and knowing your neighbors, is that if you're not alone, if you're playing the Bitcoin game, fundamentally, the mindset shift you have to make is that you are going to play a game where you are going to behave by a certain set of rules and you accept those rules to be appropriate and to be ethical. And so you abide by them. And from that, you kind of have set the foundation. You've built your castles on steel and not sand. And what I'm so optimistic about is that even though I see these kids and they're hurting and they're sad and they're alone and they think they identify as an attack helicopter and they think painting their nails is going to make them happier. They think dyeing their hair is going to make them happier, and they don't know any better. So you can't chastise them for it. It's the zeitgeist of the Zoomer age. I think how optimistic it is that us as folks who have only slightly more life, ahead of them, who are not yet sort of old and don't have the energy to really dive into this fight and work for these sorts of things, that we can all hop onto these calls and you see it. You see people that are Christian and Jewish and Muslim, and people who are Black, who are white, or in the inner cities, who are rural, who are living in rural Wyoming or inner city Pittsburgh or Chicago. And they're all sort of grokking this Bitcoin thing. And what they're deciding is that they're all going to play a game together. And they agree to the rules of that game. And that game supersedes any of these sort of superficial things that might change you on the surface. And while that person might be different from you, you still have the opportunity to live in a world where something is shared. And that's why I'm really optimistic. You now have an opportunity to reestablish and establish in a deeper way these communities that can agree on something. And only when you have that can you actually start to engage with people where you're not scared to talk to your neighbors. I just love watching the culture of Bitcoin expand the way it has, because that's what we're seeing take place right now.